Dogs have long been our loyal companions, their world running parallel to ours, but often overlooked in the rush of human life. What if, for a single day, you shifted your perspective and followed a dog, experiencing the world as it unfolds through their eyes, nose, and paws? That's exactly what I set out to do. A day in the life of a dog, shadowing every step, every sniff, every joyful wag of the tail. The morning began with a soft golden light filtering through the curtains, signaling the start of a new day. Before I could even reach for my phone, there was a gentle thump at the foot of the bed, a dog-shaped silhouette, tail already swishing in anticipation. For the sake of this journey, let's call her Daisy. She's a medium-sized, mixed-breed bundle of energy with expressive brown eyes and a heart full of curiosity. Daisy's first ritual was the morning stretch. She arched her back, pushed her front paws forward, and let out a contented yawn. This was not a rushed gesture, but a deliberate pause, a moment to greet the day. She padded over to the window and peered outside, nose twitching as she caught the scent of dawn, something I couldn't detect. But for her, it was a symphony of new beginnings. The neighbor's cat slinking across a fence, the distant aroma of baking bread, the lingering trace of last night's rain. Breakfast was next on her agenda. I watched as she sat patiently by her bowl, tail thumping a steady rhythm against the floor. The sound of kibble hitting the ceramic dish was her cue, and she approached her meal with an enthusiasm I rarely muster for my own breakfast. Daisy didn't just eat, she savored, pausing between mouthfuls to look up, as if acknowledging the small pleasure of a morning meal. After breakfast, Daisy's energy shifted. She trotted to the door, casting hopeful glances in my direction. Her leash hung on its usual hook, the mere sight of it enough to set her tail into overdrive. As soon as I clipped it onto her collar, she was ready, a bundle of focused anticipation, every muscle attuned to the adventure ahead. We stepped outside, and the world seemed to expand. For Daisy, every walk is an exploration, a story unfolding with each step. She led the way, nose to the ground, following invisible trails only she could decipher. A patch of grass warranted a thorough investigation. A lamppost became a message board filled with news from the neighborhood's canine community. Daisy paused at each, reading and leaving her own signature mark before moving on. Her pace was brisk but unhurried, guided by instinct rather than destination. She greeted familiar faces with a wag and a sniff, her social circle extending far beyond the humans she lived with. Every dog we passed was a potential friend or rival, every person a possible source of affection. Daisy's world was rich with connections, both fleeting and profound. As we wandered through the park, I noticed how keenly she observed her environment. A fluttering bird, a rustling bush, a distant bark, nothing escaped her attention. She stopped often, head cocked, ears perked, as if listening to secrets carried by the morning breeze. I realized that while I often moved through life with my thoughts elsewhere, Daisy was always fully present, immersed in the here and now. Mid-morning brought a change of pace. The sun climbed higher, and Daisy sought out a patch of shade beneath a tree. She flopped down, tongue lollying, eyes half closed in contentment. For Daisy, rest was as important as activity, a chance to recharge and simply exist. I sat beside her, watching the clouds drift by, learning to appreciate the art of slowing down. Back home, Daisy's routine shifted once again. She circled her favorite spot on the rug, kneaded it with her paws, then settled into a cozy curl. But rest did not mean disengagement. Even as she napped, her ears flicked at every sound. A car passing outside, a knock at the door, the faint jingle of her leash. Sleep for dogs is never total surrender. It's a light doze, always half aware, always prepared to leap back into action at a moment's notice. When she woke, Daisy engaged in a round of play. She dug through her basket of toys, selecting a squeaky ball and presenting it to me with a hopeful gaze. The joy she found in this simple game was infectious. She chased the ball with unbridled enthusiasm, each return a triumph, each throw a new challenge. I marveled at her persistence, her ability to find endless delight in a well-worn toy and a human companion. Lunch was a quieter affair, Daisy munching contentedly as sunlight streamed through the kitchen window. Afterward, she settled by my feet, a silent guardian as I worked at my desk. Occasionally, she would nudge my leg, a gentle reminder that the world existed beyond the screen. I found myself taking more breaks, stepping outside for fresh air, following her example of balance between focus and play. The afternoon brought another walk, this time a slower meander through the neighborhood. Daisy greeted familiar sights with renewed interest, stopping to sniff a patch of earth that had been freshly turned, investigating the comings and goings of squirrels with a mix of fascination and restraint. She didn't chase them, just watched, head tilted, as if pondering their mysterious ways. On our route, Daisy encountered children playing in the street. She approached cautiously, tail wagging, and was soon surrounded by eager hands and delighted laughter. She soaked up the attention, offering a gentle nuzzle in exchange for a scratch behind the ears. In these moments, Daisy became an ambassador of joy, bridging the gap between humans and animals with her open-hearted presence. Back at home, the tempo of the day slowed once more. Daisy found a sunbeam on the living room floor and stretched out, basking in the warmth. She watched the world go by through the window, her gaze following the arc of birds in flight, the sway of branches in the breeze. I sat beside her, sharing in the quiet companionship, grateful for the lessons in mindfulness she offered without words. As evening approached, Daisy's senses seemed to sharpen. The scent of dinner wafted from the kitchen, and she hovered nearby, hopeful but patient. She watched every move, ears perked for the sound of a dropped morsel. When her meal was served, she ate with the same gusto as her morning meal, savoring each bite as if it were a rare treat. After dinner, Daisy's energy returned in a final burst. She invited me to join her in the backyard, where she darted through the grass, chasing shadows and imaginary prey. The sky shifted from gold to indigo, stars beginning to twinkle overhead. Daisy's world expanded once more, the cool air filled with new scents and sounds. As darkness settled, Daisy curled up in her favorite spot, sighing deeply as she drifted toward sleep. I watched her chest rise and fall, her dreams flickering behind closed eyes. Perhaps she was reliving the day's adventures, chasing the scents and sights that had filled her waking hours. Reflecting on the day, I realized how much I had learned from Daisy. Her life was a masterclass in presence, curiosity, and appreciation for the small joys that often slip by unnoticed. She reminded me that every day holds wonder, that connection can be found in the simplest interactions, and that sometimes the best way to experience the world is to slow down, open your senses, and follow where the path leads. The world of a dog is rich and textured, layered with meaning we rarely perceive. Their noses detect 1,000 stories in a single breeze. Their ears catch the faintest whisper of movement. Their eyes see not just the surface, but the intention behind a gesture. To follow a dog for a day is to rediscover the extraordinary in the ordinary, to see your own world with fresh eyes and an open heart. Daisy's day was not structured by deadlines or obligations, but by instinct and curiosity. She moved through the world with purpose, yet without hurry, savoring each moment as it came. She taught me that life is not just about the destination, but about the journey. The places you pause, the scents you follow, the friends you greet along the way. As I prepared for bed, Daisy settled onto her blanket, curling into a tight ball, her breathing slow and steady. I realized that while I had set out to follow her, it was she who had led me, away from my routines and expectations, into a world where wonder lies just beyond the threshold, waiting to be discovered by those willing to follow their curiosity. There is a quiet wisdom in the way dogs inhabit the world, a gentle reminder to live fully, to notice the details, to greet each day with enthusiasm and gratitude. To follow a dog for a whole day is to embrace simplicity, to find joy in the moment, and to remember that sometimes the best guide is the one who leads with their heart and their nose. As the house grew quiet and darkness settled in, I listened to the soft sound of Daisy's breathing. The day had been ordinary in many ways, but through her eyes, it became extraordinary. A tapestry of experiences woven from the sights, smells, and sounds that make up a dog's world. I drifted off to sleep with a sense of peace, grateful for the lessons learned and the companionship shared. In the end, to follow a dog for a day is not just an exercise in observation, but an invitation to slow down, to pay attention, and to rediscover the magic in the everyday. Daisy's journey was not spectacular or dramatic, but it was filled with meaning and joy, a reminder that sometimes the most profound adventures are those we take right outside our own front door, guided by the simple wisdom of a dog at our side.